Good afternoon again. I would like to ask for my wonderful panelist members to come in. Ms. Angela Sachs, Head of Ebrd Moldova, Mr. Vasile Tofan, Senior Partner at Horizon Capital. Vice Prime Minister Yuri Turcanu. And online Alberto Calei, Head of EIB Chisinau Office. Hi. Sorry for the change of location, but I thought for real dialogue that we need to be on the same level playing field. So, in this panel, we want to discuss opportunities and challenges about real growth and activity in Moldova. So let me ask a first round of questions to each one. Ms. Sachs, maybe let's start from you, since you are the biggest investor in Moldova. From the foreign side, tell us about the Ebrd Engagement, what sectors you play in, and what are your plans going forward?
Hello? Hello? Yes, you can hear me. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, thank you very much for organizing this event. This is a very important event, especially that it is initiated by our investee company, and there are many friendly faces here. Just quick correction, not the biggest investor, but the biggest institutional investor. Ebrd has a very long-standing and deep relationship in Moldova, and we have been supporting the country since 1992. So, 30 years is a long time. We've had good days, not such good days as well, but we are still there. We have invested about just short of 2 billion euros, which makes us the largest institutional investor in the country. And our projects during this period of time have been about 157 projects. Right now we have a portfolio of 700 million euro in 58 projects. The projects range from different sectors. I would highlight perhaps the financial institutions, infrastructure, energy, transport, green opportunities, private sector, businesses in sectors such as manufacturing and services, agribusiness, telecommunication, etc. There are some prohibited businesses that we don't invest in, but that's in most of the countries, in all of the countries of our operation, not only Moldova. So what do we focus on in Moldova? I would probably highlight the 4 directions. The first one is resilient financial sector. The second one would be green transition and sustainable infrastructure. The third one would be energy security. And the fourth one, of course, SME development and competitiveness of the private sector. We focus on these areas for investment, but we don't only invest, but we also support the projects with advisory services, especially to the SMEs. And we support the businesses with policy dialogue together with the authorities of the Republic of Moldova. What it means in practice is, for example, we have here present the Economic Council to the Prime Minister, which is hugely supported by Ebrd, and they're advising the businesses, and they're a fantastic platform for the businesses to reach out to the government and vice versa. And they discuss all the problems and opportunities on that platform. Maybe I will go now into areas as to what our investments actually mean for the economy, because we do too much, a lot, I should say. and I don't think the time is enough to expand on all the areas, but maybe I will highlight what the achievements are in a few areas. First one, I can't not mention, the first one is the financial sector. In the financial sector, Ebrd, together with the IMF, has helped the government of Moldova to make the banking sector transparent since the infamous fraud in 2014. Today, at the time when I arrived in Moldova, which was 4 years ago, we were only working with 2 banks in Moldova. Today, we are proudly working with 5 partner banks, and in 2 of them, we have equity investments. And these banks are catering to the communities and to the SME sector, which desperately needs finance to grow and sustain their development. Throughout that reform, the government has managed to establish a solid regulator. They have managed to bring in very good regulatory practices. The banks are I should say knowledgeable. I mean, they can talk for themselves. I know that they will be presenting in a few moments. And they can tell you what the benefits have been from this banking transformation. But they can probably also witness, they can confirm that it hasn't always been a very easy ride. But we're here today, and Moldova has made a huge achievement opening up the banking sector. Another area I'd like to focus on is the energy. Everybody who presented today has mentioned that one of the most pressing issues today in Moldova is the energy security. Energy security has been in the forefront of Ebrd operations for many years, and it will be for the years to come. We have helped the country in 2019 crisis, and we're helping the country today as well. And we don't only come in when there is crisis, but we continue financing opportunities in diversifying the energy resources in Moldova. Today we have been supporting the government with this 300 million financing package, which our president mentioned in her opening speech, to diversify its supply from the traditional supplier, Gazprom. Because since 2019, there has been the risk of disconnection from that supplier for various reasons. At that time, it was discontinuation of the agreement between Russia and Ukraine, and today it's the war and political situations. So hopefully with this financing, the country can move away from the single supplier and can tap into the European markets through the interconnectors, which again Ebrd has managed to finance with other partners, with Romania. We're financing electricity interconnector with Romania and also gas transmission interconnector with Romania. The last one, the gas interconnector, actually was critical last year for bringing in gas supply from the European hubs during the month of October. 2 more areas I will mention, and then I will give the floor to my colleagues on the panel. The one to mention is the climate resilience. We are financing a lot of green initiatives in Moldova, and there are a lot of green initiatives. It's just at the moment we see that the awareness is lacking, but people are becoming much more aware. So our financing to date is estimated to have contributed to the reduction of about 137,000 tons of CO2. I'm not a technician in this field, so I like to translate it into my language. This equals to taking 30,000 cars off the streets of Moldova for 1 year. So every year when we are investing in this country, we are very, very climate conscious. And if we can continue doing this, and with the willingness of the government and the people and the financial institutions to focus on these areas, I think we can achieve quite a lot in Moldova. I can't not mention the SMEs. We do a lot for the SME support, and our advisory has created a lot of jobs, a lot of added revenues, but I will stop here. Otherwise, I could go on for 30 years.
Thank you, thank you. I have put all the panelists under a tight time schedule just to make sure you get all of the key ingredients of this growth story. Mr. Tofan, tell us about your experience about doing business in Moldova. Moldova scores very well in the World Business ranking, you know, ahead of some of the EU member states, actually. So why don't you tell us what has impressed you in the country and where are the areas of improvements?
Thank you, Rafaela, for having me here. And you know, we had a deal before starting this panel. I had a deal with Angela that in case she runs over, I can trade my minutes for a discount on my own Ebrd debt. So, so on a serious note, it's really great to be here. It's a really a true privilege. I'll try to be concise. You know, the chairman of our investment committee, a gentleman called Jeff Neal, very accomplished gentleman. He ended his career as the chairman of global investment banking for Merrill Lynch. He's a Midwesterner from Chicago, and he likes to say, Vasily, let's get to the numbers. So I think when the question is what is an investor perspective of Moldova, I can share with you some, like all the returns on all the deals we did in Moldova. So we invested in a beer company, sold that to FS, made 2.5 times our money. Then we invested in Maib for the first time 20 years ago, made 3.6 times our money in 4 years. Then we invested in a fruit and vegetable processing company, Natur Bravo, made 3.7 times our money. Then we invested in Purcari, the winery, made 3.3 times our money. And that's the very representative list. We literally haven't had any dogs in Moldova, and I'm very proud, as a Moldovan myself, that Horizon Capital, which is investing in the broader emerging Europe region, has always managed to achieve good returns in the country. And in that sense, I think Moldova is a little bit of an unpolished gem, offering very attractive opportunities for those investors who have the appetite and who are ready to make the effort to discover it. The other question you're asking, you know, investors are typically concerned about the business climate in these kind of markets, and again, when I feel like we have to do much better at educating the investor community in highlighting some of, I think, the advantages of Moldova. And as a smaller market, I have to give credit to the government for implementing reforms that have actually dramatically improved the ease of doing business in the country. So I think to many in the audience, it's going to be a surprise that the country ranks in the ease of doing business ranking. I know it has been discontinued, but we use the latest data available. It ranks just behind Belgium, Netherlands, and Slovakia, just behind, and ahead of countries like Croatia, Bulgaria, Hungary, Greece, Cyprus, and Romania, our host today. So in that sense, I think it's we as investors we did have had our moments, you know, with authorities, but in general we found it pretty easy to do business. In that sense, I think today's event that kicks off this process for eventually listing Maib on the Romanian Stock Exchange is a great opportunity for many more investors to discover the equity stories out of Moldova, and I very much hope that in May we'll be here celebrating, you know, and ringing the bell at the Bucharest Stock Exchange for yet another IPO of a Moldovan company.
Excellent. Mr. Turcanu, you have the hardest job out there. Digital transformation is the most powerful force, we think, out there. For any country is an incredible opportunity, but it's also incredibly difficult. Digitalization is your mandate, and you've been working on it actually since 2015. So why don't you tell us a little bit, what is your focus now, what have you achieved, and what do you hope the private sector will gain from all of your efforts?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for this opportunity to stand in front of these people and to tell about our experience in digitalization and to try to convince them that we are on our way to become a digital nation together with Romania. And I would, answering to your question, Rafaela, I would say that we started from a very siloed approach to digitalization in principle. So the major achievement we made during these years, we have an alignment. We have alignment on technology side, we have alignment on approaches, on institutional arrangements, and because of that alignment, we succeed to build a digital ecosystem which helps us now to streamline the business processes and streamline public services we are delivering to people. What exactly that means? We started differently, and we are condemned to have this kind of out-of-the-box thinking. Being a small country, being a not very attractive country for the larger technology giants of this world, because of the small market, we still are playing an important role in digitalization of the society, and we are still trying to attack these giants. So the dialogue is completely different. So what we did, in fact, we didn't invest that much into a big and comprehensive strategy up front. We started to look pragmatically at things, and when a problem comes, we try to solve it technically, practically, institutionally, in the best way possible, with enough perspective to be reused, that solution to be reused. That way is we implemented a technology platform for the government, which is based on cloud computing, and at the time when different nations, even very developed countries, were talking about cloud computing in their governments, we were using it for a couple of years, and we were able to share our experience on practical use of this technology with other nations. When it comes to digital payments, and here our partner, which I'm very proud about, to be listed at the Bucharest Stock Exchange, we implemented a piece of art in terms of digital payments. We reinvented ourselves from payments perspective. Now we are not only collecting payments which we receive for public services, we are distributing all the payments, all the pensions, all the allowances, we are distributing them to the nation. And probably I would mention one more infrastructure, digital infrastructure, which is the cornerstone of all other reforms. That's the data exchange and interoperability infrastructure. Nothing happens now without data. So we have to have a reliable data exchange between institutions. And because of that, we now, since part of your question is what you are focusing now, we are now streamlining the services to simplify them, to let institutions exchange data behind the scenes, and not involve directly people, citizens, businesses, to bring one paper from one country and to bring it to another country. Also, what we are working on right now is we are trying to penetrate the digitalization agenda through all the administrative layers. So since our primary focus was on central public authorities so far, now we are working together with local communities, with local partners in such a way that they will become a part of digital service provision ecosystem. So in short, we are trying to reinvent ourselves in terms of interaction between the state and citizens, state and businesses, and to bring a new customer experience to people. An experience which will make them free of bureaucracy, free of any attached strings to institutions, to geographies, to locations, even to timing, because the public services we are delivering, the new model, new generation of public services we are delivering, they're accessible to everyone. Of course, we have some challenges, and here we are together to explore them and to work on them together, and every challenge is still a good opportunity because we used to work with private sector, and we are still counting on private sector to partner with the government in order to make every digital solution possible and rewardable to both parties. We try to engage with Romania, and not only try, but we are committed to make good successes with Romania together, because the potential we have and this unique configuration of these both countries is absolutely indicating that we have to digitize together, we have to develop our nations together, and we have to stay competitive, and why not to become leaders, regional leaders at least, together. Business, I really encourage all the businesses in the Republic of Moldova to benefit from the programs the government launched for digitalization, and there are a couple of those, starting from small businesses and ending with formed and quite developed businesses on the technology side, on digitalization. I encourage them to contact us and to become our partner in those novelties and innovations we are working on right now. And we are encouraging them to come with their own ideas, to invite us as partners in this time to make their ideas a reality and to generate the profit they are so much counting on. Thank you once again for this opportunity, and I look forward to to continue interacting with you and to enrich my networking, my network of contacts from here, from Romania, from companies, from businesses, from foundations, from investors as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker, digitally, Mr. Carlet. Why don't you tell us about the work that you're doing and the EIB is doing in terms of investment in infrastructure and large projects in the country?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for this invite, first of all, to be here with you today. I will just check, first of all, that you can hear me properly. Does the audio works? Great. Well, I will start by saying that the EIB started its activity in Moldova back in 2007, and by now we have built a portfolio of about 1 billion in total, comprising about 26 operations. As the EU Bank, as a policy-driven institution, with our operation, we try to implement what is the European Union policy target in our country's operation. This includes scaling up, indeed, energy efficiency, financing strategic infrastructure, supporting private sector, for example, SMEs. Looking at the billion of exposure that we have in Moldova, big picture would see that about 2/3 of this exposure is dedicated to public sector infrastructure and the remaining part to private sector support for small, medium enterprises. A little bit more of a granular split of our exposure would see about half of the portfolio being dedicated to large transport infrastructure operations. So, namely, rehabilitation of a key national road section included in a trans-European network have been supported. In the past, we've supported also the financing of trolleybus in the city of Chisinau. In addition to roads infrastructure, we are also supporting rail rehabilitation as much as we do for roads. We finance as well rolling stocks modernization. We do understand that the economic sustainability of Moldovan development depends on its connectivity with other European countries, and the extension of upgrade of the country transport network, rail and road, is essential in this respect. After the transport, another key sector of our support is for sure energy. We supported the energy interconnection of the country by financing strategic infrastructure like the gas pipeline that connect Ungheni Chisinau, therefore from Chisinau to the border with Romania. In the past, we financed the modernization of the Modelectrica network. We have committed financing together with our partners for the electricity interconnection with Romania as well. And definitely we are an active player in energy efficiency. We signed as recent in December, and exactly this morning we signed a grant component related to the largest public sector energy efficiency operation in the country, whereby together with our colleagues from the Ebrd and together with the EU, we are supporting the country to scale up the effort and the energy efficiency within the public sector. And now we will look forward to start with implementation of this project. Third key sector that perhaps I would mention is small, medium enterprises. About a third of, as I said before, of our exposure is linked to that. The two flagship, if you wish, operations that we signed is in the past we supported the wineries of Moldova, which are probably the most well-known product of the agricultural sector of the country today, with a framework loan about 75 million, and we, after the success of this project, we top it up with a large program dedicated to SMEs in agriculture, which is still today in development, in implementation. Of course, we understand agriculture is a key sector for the country in terms of GDP, in terms of employment, especially when combined with food processing. Moldova has here great potential as well. The soil is, the ground is very fertile, as probably you know. The climate is very favorable for fertile, for successful plantations, and therefore we are strongly supporting this sector as well. These would be the three sectors of our activity. Of course, we are very committed to continue supporting Moldova as well in the future, and we definitely stand ready together with the European Union and our financing partners to continue with the implementation of what we already signed as well. As more in general, all our public sector operations are comprised of a blending in terms of financial support, whereby we co-finance all the strategic infrastructure together with our colleagues from the Ebrd. All these operation benefits to a large degree, I would say, of support from technical assistance, grants, which we or our partner mobilized to make the whole package more attractive. Thank you. This would be my short introduction of our activities, I would say.
Great, thank you. So I hope you've caught a very good insight from all of the ingredients of growth in a country: the finance, the business environment, which underpins productivity, the digital infrastructure, which really, believe me, it is the most disruptive, positive transition that we're seeing, and Moldova really looks extremely well positioned, and of course then infrastructure and just improving connectivity. So let me ask a final round of questions to each panelist. Ms. Sachs, on the basis of your experience and everything that you've seen and you have achieved so far, would you say that you're quite confident that beyond the very near term, the next few months and the conflict and so on and so forth, but in general, sovereign credit risk in Moldova is going to come down in coming years, and the credit rating of the country is looking like it will probably improve over time?
The short answer is yes, but I will do a bit of a detour, okay? In Ebrd, we're a demand-driven organization. Okay, we don't have a package, sort of financial package that we contribute this year, and then we can't go over that. Generally, the demand in Moldova for our projects and our intervention has been about 100 million or less euro per year. This year, Ebrd is absolutely stepping up its investments, and we're looking into just under 400 million investments in this country, which is about 4% of the country's GDP. It's huge. I think it's a big statement as to how committed we are to help the country and how happy we are with the steps of the development that the government is taking despite the numerous crises that are thrown at the country. Do we hope that the credit rating will improve? We hope, yes. Do we know what's behind the corner? Unfortunately, I don't know. But we're doing everything that whatever the crisis is bringing now can be alleviated and the situation can be eased for the country, and they can focus on the development and the improvement for the consumers and for the population. One quick thing I want to mention, I mean, the Prime Minister mentioned about the crisis always bringing up opportunities. Yes, this is not the crisis that one should mention, but energy crisis has brought up some opportunities. And now the country is very actively looking into renewable energy resources, and we're helping them to unlock this. There are opportunities. There is need for investors to test the market. Yes, we have a different risk appetite, but we're there. So if there are doubts whether the market is fit for investments or not, please talk to us. If there are investors who are happy to look into Moldova, which is a land of opportunities and there is still a lot to be explored, we're there. We can help and we can be a partner going forward. So yes, we have optimism, but we're not blinded by this optimism. We're just going one step at a time and hoping that long-term safeguards will be put into place for this country.
Excellent. And Mr. Tolfan, you very openly shared how successful your investment were in Moldova. So I guess your core message is, okay, liquidity is not great in this country, but the return definitely pays off. Would you say that that is definitely the core message that you would want to give to the audience for the near term, and would you continue to invest in Moldova?
Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. I listed all the good investments we did, but we also missed on great investments. For example, I think the biggest miss of my life is failing to convince the owners of Endava to give us a stake in the company, and this started in Moldova, expanded to Romania, and then turned into a company that reached a $9 billion market cap on New York Stock Exchange. So clearly, even from a small country like Moldova, you can have very big success stories. And we'll stay hungry, we'll stay foolish, keep looking for opportunities. Now we are investors in MAIB. I think we'll make a lot of money on this investment. So our investment committee is going to be happy. Thank you for the management team for doing all the work. We as investors plan to take all the credit.
Mr. Turcanu, you pointed out that digital experience was one of the focus that is driving you. So I guess for somebody that isn't necessarily experienced in Moldova, what could be a good place for them to really touch with hand all of the work that you're seeing? Because everything you've mentioned looks to me, first in class. But for somebody that has not seen it, has closed, what would be the best place to go to really get a feeling for your efforts?
That's really an interesting and difficult question to answer, because what we are trying to implement is an invisible government. The government which is not that obtrusive, and you will better not see it and its bureaucracy. So if we literally are looking for effects of digitalization and to try to understand how we can measure them, then probably it's good to say that because of the data exchange alone, data exchange infrastructure alone, we reduced the number of documents a business needs from 430 documents to 160. And we are still reducing those permissive acts, licenses to be issued, confirmative documents, and many others. So this is something digitalization tries to simplify instead of putting something additional you want to touch. If you really want to look at something, that's better. The best place to start with is your personal cabinet or personal virtual space, is where which is a convergence point of all the data, all the actions you can make in reaction to the change of that data. For instance, if you are a taxpayer and you didn't pay your taxes, that's the alert you receive there. If you are a driver and you want to make sure that you know about your penalty points, or you want to extend your technical inspection of your car. That's the starting point to start with. That's for regular citizens. As we have this personal space for regular citizens, if you have some businesses open, then you see that your businesses and you can manage your businesses, or at least to see some of your business data starting again from this your virtual space. So if you click on that, one item or a company, you can see the properties, you can see the fiscal status of the company, you can see the employees, your intellectual property, your digital certificates, you name it. So we have roughly 15 major data blocks which represent an entity from 15 different standpoints describing that particular entity. That would be the starting point to use. That's mcabinet.gov.md. That would be the one.
Fantastic. Thank you. And my last question to Mr. Carley, is there any realistic scenario in the near term that could really change the EIB's commitment to Moldova? I mean, if the world economy goes into a recession, is that going to lower your appetite to invest?
Well, to answer the question, we are actually a counter-cyclical organization. So usually we step up our activity when the world gets into a recession. So in a way, as we have done in the past, we usually step up our activity exactly in this kind of difficult situation. And this is what we'll definitely do. In the specific case of Moldova, we're very committed to continue supporting the country. The way I see it is that ultimately every crisis, how bad it can look, you always come with opportunities as well. Looking at again, always at our case of Moldova, back in 2004 when there was the wine embargo from Russia on import from Moldova, this was actually proved to be the trigger that has pushed the country to significantly improve quality, diversify export channel, and nowadays Moldova is known as an excellence in terms of quality and is exported in many more places rather than only Russia. So I tend to be overall positive, I would say, in this context. As we know, the country has done a remarkable job with the resources it had in managing the various crises which are stemming often in parallel with limited resources. It has found that itself that is actually not alone. The international community, it's very supportive. The IFI, the IFIs, the EU, other donors are there to help. This could be an opportunity actually to essentially accelerate the developments on many fronts, also taking into account that the recent granting of EU candidate status. It could really function as a vehicle to continue enhancing trades between Moldova and the EU, continue with reforms, strengthen the rule of law, strengthen the energy security, and we are all working on that as well, and ultimately make Moldova a competitive place, able to attract foreign direct investment and make it even more the right place to invest.
Thank you to each one of the speakers to give us such an important insight on the country. Thank you all. I hope you come away from this panel really convinced that indeed Moldova has a very clear convergent path that, notwithstanding the very near-term challenges, the outlook is extremely resilient. Thank you all.